Welcome back to The Explainer. So think about this for a second. Where does money traditionally go when the economy gets a little shaky? For decades, the answer was always the same: healthcare. It was considered this incredibly safe, maybe even slightly boring, defensive sector. Basically, a place to hide your assets until the economic storm passed. But today? Well, today we're going to look at some data that completely rewrites that old narrative. Traditionally, like we just said, healthcare simply acted as a defensive, slow-growth safe haven. But the modern reality? It's a total paradigm shift. Healthcare has completely transformed into a really dynamic core asset. It's suddenly combining that historic rock-solid stability with some massive high-growth potential. And this whole change is being driven by what I like to call a triple threat: shifting demographics, rigid demand, and absolutely exploding technological breakthroughs.
All right, Section 1, the demographic growth engine. We're looking at the unstoppable wave of the silver economy.
Listen, this isn't just a slow trickle. It is literally an exponential wave. We are officially entering a global longevity society. And here's a pretty wild fact for you. By the year 2050, the number of people aged 80 years or older is expected to triple worldwide. Think about that. As people live longer all over the globe, the silver economy is creating this massive surge in rigid demand. We're talking about the inescapable, everyday need for chronic disease management, things like daily cardiovascular treatments and diabetes care, plus orthopedic implants to keep people moving, and a huge expansion in long-term care facilities. It's a demographic certainty, and it's fundamentally reshaping the market right before our eyes. And this demographic certainty leads us to a fascinating economic reality. Medical expenditure is usually the very last item that families and governments will cut. The crucial point here is what economists call price elasticity. I mean, think about it in your own life. If there's a recession, a family might cancel their summer vacation, right? Or maybe hold off on buying the new car. But they are absolutely not going to skip their heart medication. They aren't going to cancel a necessary surgery. Because people naturally prioritize their health above literally everything else, this sector generates incredibly stable cash flow, totally regardless of how wild the broader economic environment gets. And that stability, well, that lays the perfect foundation for where the story gets incredibly exciting. Moving on to Section 2, the MedTech revolution. This is all about the shift from treatment to prevention. So that baseline stability we just talked about, that's really just the foundation. Technology is coming in and completely redefining the boundaries of medicine, injecting some really aggressive growth right on top of that stable base. There are three major technological breakthroughs leading this charge: genomics and precision medicine, AI-assisted R&D, and digital health alongside surgical robotics. Now, these aren't just flashy industry buzzwords. They represent a fundamental shift for the entire healthcare sector. We are moving away from merely reacting to sickness and moving toward proactively finding tech-driven cures. Let's unpack these one by one. First, let's take precision medicine. By using DNA sequencing to provide customized treatment plans, we are rapidly moving away from that old one-size-fits-all approach to medicine. By actually tailoring treatments directly to a patient's unique genetic code, we're seeing significant, totally measurable increases in the cure rates for major, severe diseases like cancer. We are literally altering survival rates at a fundamental biological level, which is just incredible. Then, of course, there's generative AI. Traditionally, bringing a single new drug to market takes, over a decade? And it costs billions of dollars, with this massive looming risk that the clinical trial might just fail at the end of it all. It's historically been incredibly inefficient, but AI is stepping in and solving one of the pharmaceutical industry's absolute biggest hurdles. It dramatically shortens the R&D cycle. It makes drug discovery so much faster, far cheaper, and fundamentally less risky by taking all that expensive guesswork right out of the laboratory. And it's not just the drugs that are changing, it's how care is physically delivered to you and me. Telemedicine is expanding the reach of healthcare way beyond the walls of the traditional doctor's office, making access immediate and super efficient. At the same time, precision surgical robots are stepping right into the operating room. They're increasing operational success rates and drastically speeding up patient recovery times through these highly precise, minimally invasive techniques. Basically, technology is optimizing every single touchpoint in the patient journey. Okay, Section 3, inside the healthcare ecosystem. Let's look at diversifying across the supply chain. So you might be wondering, how can someone actually capture the value of this massive revolution? Well, the healthcare sector isn't just one giant monolith, right? It's made up of specialized, interconnected subsectors. Let's break it down. First, you have large pharma and biotech, which focus strictly on patent R&D, securing those high profit margins when a new drug hits the market. Meanwhile, medical devices focus on hospital upgrades and creating that amazing minimally invasive tech we were just talking about, directly benefiting from rapid hospital tech adoption. And finally, medical services, things like chain management, clinics, and long-term care facilities, they see very stable, continuous expansion driven directly by our aging society. Together, these three pillars form a highly diversified, high-growth financial machine.
Finally, Section 4, Future-Proofing Your Portfolio. Welcome to the life science revolution.
Let's connect these massive industry shifts directly back to the big picture for you. The defining long-term traits of the modern healthcare sector are basically low correlation and anti-inflation. Let's translate those terms for a second. Low correlation simply means that when the rest of the economy zigs, healthcare doesn't necessarily zag with it. It operates on its own strong biological fundamentals. And anti-inflation? That means that as the cost of living inevitably goes up, healthcare pricing power remains incredibly strong because, again, it's a non-negotiable expense. Together, these two traits create an almost bulletproof wealth strategy that's highly resilient against economic downturns. So, to summarize the core message of our explainer today, allocating attention to healthcare is no longer just playing defense. Not at all. It's an aggressive, long-term growth path. First, it allows you to master the demographic dividend of an aging population. Second, fueled by all this new technology, it lets you enter an entirely new growth cycle. And ultimately, it means you are participating directly in the incredible life science revolution. I want to leave you with this one provocative question to think about. Are you just surviving the aging demographic, or are you actually investing in the life science revolution? The paradigm has undeniably shifted. Healthcare is no longer just a place to hide your money, it is biology meeting technology to create some seriously unstoppable momentum. Really think about where you stand in this new reality. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this structured look at the data sparked your curiosity as much as it did mine. See you next time.